I'm your host, Sarah Baus, and welcome to Attainable Podcast.
Hi, guys, and welcome back to the Attainable Podcast. I hope you're doing super well. Welcome to 2023. I cannot fathom that. I'm just going to go ahead and skip that. None of us can believe it. It's still 2019. We all know that. Like, this isn't new, and I'm sure we've heard it a million times, and we're going to hear it a million times. Question for you. How long does it take you to fix the date when you are writing? Like, it takes me a solid 3 months to not write the year before. Maybe not 3 months. I'm sure that's an exaggeration, but it does take me a long time. Like I just have it ingrained in my head. However, I will say, since being out of school, you certainly don't date things as much. And so I feel like even now I still I'll write the date and I'm like, what year is it? So as long as I'll just keep asking myself that question every time I need to write a date, and we will be just fine, perhaps. But I hope your holidays were awesome. I hope that your Christmas was great if you celebrate. I haven't recorded since before Christmas, so we had an awesome Christmas, stayed in Charleston, and then we went to Alabama for Joseph's family after on the 26th, came back, and then we actually also hosted New Year's, which was super, super fun. We were supposed to host New Year's at the house last year as well. However, it was, I'm guessing two days before New Year's, I'm assuming, or maybe New Year's Eve, I don't know. It was the Friday of the weekend that everybody was coming down. And everybody was on their way. Now, granted, my friends are when I say everybody, we have this core group of friends. You guys know, squad. If you listen to the podcast, but if you are new, we have just, core group of friends that most people do. And whenever we do vacations or we always gather. And so squad was coming down, and they come from either Charlotte or Columbia. Really, we've got some in Florida, but they had already been in Charlotte with family, whatever. So anyway, people were on their way down to Charleston, and we had to call them, and they had to turn around because I took a COVID test, and I was positive last year. So Joseph had made this special punch and everything. It was so sad. We sat 6 feet away from each other, and we drank got kind of tipsy on his punch that we couldn't share with friends, and watched fireworks in our backyard. And so this year was way better than that. So I had a much better time. We went out, actually. We went to a bar crawl in Charleston. And here's the thing. I've learned something. I've learned something about New Year's in Charleston every year. New Year's in Charleston is pretty insane. The city is atrocious, and if you want to do something, you need to buy tickets. And most of the big bars around here, Uptown, I can't think of any other ones right now, they have parties that you have to pre-buy a ticket for, and they're pretty it's a hefty ticket. It's 100, we'll take Uptown because that's the one that we were considering. It was $150 ticket per person, which you're like, oh my god. But it was 4 hours of open bar and free pizza. Hello, that's honestly worth it. Now, for somebody like me, not really worth it. I drink maybe one drink if I'm drinking, and then I don't drink anymore. I'm just not a heavy drinker. But we have a bunch of the guys who they can put it away. I'm we're gonna spend more than that. But we voted against it. And there was this bar crawl that was $25 a ticket. It ended up being $35 because we waited a little long, but a ticket, and it had 6 bars on it or something. But I should have looked more into it. We should have taken more time to look at it. We just kind of saw the price and we're like, great, that'll be awesome. We'll do a bar crawl. Yeah. Well, we started the bar crawl. And at this point, we had looked at I had looked at the bars after we already booked the tickets, and it was very clear, 2 of them were restaurants. They weren't actual bars. So we were like, okay, that's kind of not necessarily the vibe we were thinking about, but I'm sure it'll be fine. They also planned this so the 2 bars that were furthest from each other were a 30-minute walk. They took you across the city, and you're like, what the heck, like that, I feel like these should be a little bit closer. But we were like, you know what? Um, let's do the bar crawl, it'll be fine. Well, then the day before New Year's Eve, I get a Facebook ad that Music Farm is doing this gasolina party. And it is what was it, $25 a ticket. Again, big party. And with it said reggaeton music, which honestly, I'm a little confused. I need to look up what reggaeton is because in my head that was reggae, like island music, but then like Gasolina, it was like Bad Bunny. So actually, let me not be ignorant because we have Google. What is reggaeton music? Um, you're gonna come along with me on this journey. Uh, what What is reggaeton music? As a genre, integrates the influences of Black culture from a variety of Latin American countries. As the name suggests, reggaeton blends reggae music with the Latin American dance hall music as well as hip hop influences. Okay, I feel like that makes sense. Oh, literally, literally lists Bad Bunny, Dua Lipa in here. Okay, no, no worries at all, guys. I'm just was not informed before now, and now I'm informed. Cool. So anyway, but I saw Gasolina and I was like, fuck yeah. And we are like, oh man, like we made a mistake. Well, first of all, can the ad please target me not the day before New Year's Eve? Like, could I be targeted a week before this so that I had booked that instead of the bar crawl? But so at this point we were panicking. We were like, oh my God, we booked this bar crawl, and like, do we get the ticket and just skip the bar crawl, or do we try the bar crawl and then see if we can get a ticket at the door, whatever? We ended up going to the bar crawl and we were like, if it sucks, we'll head to Music Farm and see if we can get a ticket at the door. That's what happened because we went to the first bar, which was crowded. And with bar crawls, they have like deals at each bar. That's what you're paying for, is like you get a wristband so that you can get access to these special deals. First bar that you went to, the one we were like most excited for, was like $5 for 2 Jello shots. So not even like really good deals, honestly, guys. But they were out of Jello shots. Like, it was kind of a mess. And then we talked to other people who had been on the bar crawl. Like, they had gone through the bars and they were like, no, 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 it all sucks. We're like, oh my God. Like, okay. So me and my friend were like, hey, you stay here. Music Farm's a 3-minute walk. We'll go check if we can get tickets. Got there and everybody was super nice. I hope that Music Farm does this every year. I don't know if they've done this before. It was literally so fun. It ended up being $30 at the door. Perfect. We just bought everybody tickets. We were like, okay, come on, head to Music Farm. We went in. It was so fun. Obviously, the music was unbelievable. And it's kind of hard to find like bars that play really good like dancing music. But it was such good music. It was such a good vibe. So we had a really, really good time. However, if that's not happening next year, I'm gonna just remind me, just drop the money. Just drop the money. Let us either drop the money or we need to host our own party, because it honestly, by the time, especially the guys, like pay for all the drinks, it's so expensive. Like, the drinks get so expensive on New Year's Eve. It's Charleston. Like, you're not paying under $12 per drink. You're probably paying, 15 to 17 or something. Like, it's dumb. It was a dumb decision. We should have just forked up the money. Next year, I'm either going to fork up the money, or I've also toyed with the idea of turning our garage into a club, because if you can control the music, then it's going to be bopping. I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, had a great New Year's. And it was great to have our friends down. And anyway, but that was a long intro. Today, we are chatting about my favorite thing, goals. No, if you have listened to other podcasts, we have some podcasts on goals for people who hate goals, then I am not a goal gal. And if you are a goal gal, listen, don't plug out, or guy, don't plug out. It's good. Like, we're going to chat about how to do New Year's resolutions when you are not a resolution person. I'm kind of anti New Year's resolution, not for other people. I look at everybody posting on their stories and they've got like my 5 goals for 2023 and they're doing their vision boards. And I'm like, oh my God, that's so great for you. Except this has me shaking in my boots. This makes me nervous. The goal girls make me nervous. They do. And so, but I was having more of a thought about it. And I'm not somebody who is against like motivation or anything like that. Like, I love productivity. I love progress. I just think that there's a different mentality to go around it, especially not to be negative, but I think New Year's resolutions can come with this underlying tone of like, if you're going to keep it, and nobody keeps their New Year's resolutions anyway, and like blah, blah, blah. And I just think there's a better way to do it. So, we're going to be chatting about that today. So with the New Year's resolution thing, it just makes me feel very pressured. It makes me feel very like stuck. And when I feel that pressure, it gets you to this place of like no movement. You end up being suffocated and so overwhelmed that you're overwhelmed into inaction. And then that completely defeats the purpose of why you made these goals in the first place. And goals are great. And I agree, like, you need direction, but I realized how unproductive it was for me to make resolutions that made my stomach drop. That's not the feeling that you should have going into setting a goal and writing things down. Like, it should make you feel motivated. And for a lot of people, it does. But for me, it absolutely does not. And when I think of goals, they're very results driven. However, I end up being more concerned with the fact that I'm not already at the result than with the actions to take to get to that result. And I feel like you really have to watch yourself when you're making these goals, or you're doing, like, especially the vision boards. I think vision boards of like your dream life can very quickly slip into resenting the life you already have, which is also counterproductive. And so, yeah, like, for example, as far as like my thought process with goals, my friend, we were chatting about it, and she asked if before I went viral and kind of started my TikTok as a job, did I track my analytics? Like, what was my goal? And I was like, and people aren't gonna like this if anybody's interested in like growing social media, or people who want to like ask advice for social media. Like, do I think tracking analytics is important at a certain time? Yes, but for me in the beginning, I knew I would quit before I gained momentum to like make any traction if I just focused on the followers, or if I just focused on the video views. And in my mind, like, the underlying goal, yes, was I knew I wanted to grow an audience. It wasn't like a hard goal. It wasn't like, oh, I'm going to do that this year. It was a more of a curiosity that I had. I was like, it'd be very cool for me to do this. So what I am going to commit to is taking this seriously. But I did not focus on, okay, I want to have this many followers. I want to have this many video views, because I knew I would stop before I got anywhere. Because I just get frustrated. It's like, if, say, if right now I have like 550,000 followers, say I set a goal to hit 1 million followers. What I end up doing is every time I see that 550,000, 560, even if it's growing, every time I see it, it's a reminder of where I'm not at, because I told myself of where I should be. And then I get overwhelmed, I get upset, and I don't take action because I feel frozen, and then I don't get there anyway. Do you see the cycle? Am I saying that this is a healthy? No, that's psychotic. I'm very well aware that that is like not the mindset to have. But then it also makes me think I cannot be the only one to have this mindset. So this is how I think of resolutions and making progress. And back to the video. So what I did focus on, instead of focusing on the result, I needed to focus on basically the action. And this is, if anybody asks me about growing a following or growing a TikTok or anything like that, I always say, like, your biggest enemy in the beginning is consistency. So what I was concerned about was, if like I want to make this many videos a week, very, very much in my control. Like, either I do or I don't. You know what I mean? And so at the end of the week, like, I was able, if I made that many videos, like, that's great. And when you're making that many videos, there's a couple things. One, you're learning consistency. With consistency, the algorithm is learning more about you. This is very specific to this, but it can be applied to multiple situations. The algorithm is working or learning about you, and you are also getting a lot of data on what videos do well. And you will end up, if you see a video, if you post 5 videos and the 2 videos that you're talking about traveling work well, then, and you enjoyed, you enjoyed that topic, you made it in the first place, then you will end up making more videos about that. And that will get you more views because that is the topic that is popular. And, you'll be gathering that the data you need to make those strategic choices to get more views, to get more followers. And then once you start getting that momentum, then, what it gives you is data. You're going to be like, oh, okay, I am consistently gaining, I don't know, 50 followers a week. Knowing that this is the traction of growth, I can now make, if you want those numerical goals, I can now make a strategic goal of 60 followers a week, 70 followers per week. And I can now work backwards, knowing that's a very attainable goal based on data that I already have. And these are the things that I'm going to improve because I know they work, because I have the evidence to say that they work. I'm just going to do them better or do them more to reach that goal. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a time and a place for the numbers, but speaking purely right now in like the social media, like growth realm, just as an example, it's not the beginning. It had to be, for me, it had to be about consistency. So I focused on posting, and that goes into, that can be a whole nother episode if you want. And please let me know if you want something about social media growth and virality. And I mean, for, my job, my 9-to-5 job is still working, with TikTok, but it's growing brands TikTok. And that's where we're running experiments and we're gathering this data and we're taking it at a more scientific level. My personal, TikTok, I think of as completely separate, and that's kind of that's just for us. But if you have questions about that, I'd be happy to do an episode about it. But this really, what this made me think of is, okay, well, if I don't like resolutions, I don't like results-based resolutions, how do you continue to make progress? What are the resolutions for people who hate resolutions? And I thought about this concept of abundant resolutions and what these allow you to make progress throughout the year without making the traditional New Year's resolutions. And they're things, it's goals of things that you want to do more or achieve more of, but it's focused on the doing rather than the result. You aren't chasing this goalpost in the distance. You are focusing on today, not the future, but just today, right now, in this moment. And I realized, like, some of you might be listening. I'm hoping that you're relating, but some of you might be listening and be like, this makes no sense. How could a goal like demotivate you? And it's kind of silly because thinking the way that the thought process is about, if I make a goal and I get immediately upset that I'm not already there, that's like going to say, okay, saying, I want to drive to New York, getting in the car, not turning on the engine and getting pissed that you're not in New York yet. Like, I'm very aware of that, but it's an emotional response that ends up putting you in a state of inaction that I also don't want that. I still want to make progress, but how do I do it in a way that is in a positive mindset? And I do think, especially these days, with hustle culture, which I think is dying down with it, which is awesome, but there's still like this feeling like you have to be productive and it has to be results driven. That can get very unhealthy. So think of this with abundant resolution. So if your typical resolution is you want to lose 10 pounds and you're focused on results and you end up resenting the journey to get there, and you also the journey just completely passes you by, you're constantly looking ahead at where you should be, and we are not a fan of the word should. So I wrote down some examples of potential resolutions that if you wanted to make these, then you could take these or use this as a jumping point. If you want to have like, because I'm feeling a little left out. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like, everybody's making these vision boards and posting their goals, and I'm like, oh, I want to, be part of you guys. You just make me extremely nervous. This is how we can be less nervous and set goals for yourself that also will put you in a positive mindset. So, here are some examples. Like, I want to spend X amount of hours outside every month. I think that's a great one. Actually saw somebody, I saw that came from a TikTok. I saw somebody they had a goal of like, it was like 1,000 hours outside for the year or something, a little bit unattainable. I think they reached 700. They realized that they kind of went a little far there, but X amount of hours outside, like that's a great thing to do. Again, it is an action. Playing a game every day for a month. I think this would be so fun. Like committing to a game every single day. And in my head, like it can't be a like computer game. It can't be a like phone game. I think a video game possibly. I don't know. I say video game possibly because I don't play video games, so that's not a regular part of my routine. And I'd be playing with them with Joseph, so it would be a bonding experience. But playing a game of some sort of board game, that can be catch, it can be tag, it can be like any game, but a game for every day for a month is purely a goal of like having fun. That's fun. That's a cool goal. Go to 4 concerts this year. Again, it's an action. Like, and it's all of these you'll notice have it's if you want to know like, okay, well, what's the point? It's just increasing joy in your life, which I think that anybody, no matter what kind of goal you make, the overarching purpose is to bring more joy to your life. So this is just a different way to approach it. Have dinner with friends twice a month. I would love that, especially if you're like hosting a dinner or something. Like, I think that's super cool. And last one, like riding your bike twice a week. These are just some examples. But as you're thinking of your own, like, what brings you joy? What is something you want to do more of? And make sure that it's something that the goal is based on the action itself, not something like not a result. So for instance, I started, in my head as I was thinking about this, it could be I want to save $10 a day or something. And that's a great goal. But as you're thinking about this, make sure, like, if somebody asked why, that'd be to get to an ending result that you're still trying to reach. It's less about the action. Like, you don't get joy. And I'm not saying that's a bad goal. I'm saying of just thinking about the having it be an action, something that you do, and it doesn't have an extending like purpose at the end that's like, okay, I want to reach this, or I want to get better at this, or whatever. But with these, these are more about having fun, injecting more joy into your life, which we can bet that there's going to be a resulting side effect, like positive side effect, but that's not the point of it. It's being in the moment. It's cherishing that time. It's getting into the practice of just having more joy. And these, when I was writing these down, these did not make me nervous. These did not make me feel pressured. This did not make me feel inadequate. This did not make me feel like there was something I should be achieving that I'm not yet. This was, oh, like, this is motivating. This is making me want to go and do these things. And I think that's the biggest testament. And I've noticed, like, with this, it comes down to detachment. And there's a pattern of detachment when it comes to ways to think about growth, like the goals, emotions, life experience. And I'm not talking about dissociation. I'm not talking about dissociation. Like, I'm not talking about dissociation. I'm talking about, like, for instance, what we're doing with these goals is detaching ourselves from the results. And it's focusing on the journey, on what you're doing, so that the present isn't passing you by, or, with emotions or something like that. Like, it could be detaching yourself from a frustrating situation. For example, if you go out to your car and there's a flat tire, instead of like don't attach your emotions to it or get stressed, or you're like, oh my God, why does this always happen to me? And you let it completely control everything. You sort of detach yourself from that and say, okay, this is like, let's move forward and figure this out. It's just part of, you're seeing it as just, it's an event in time. Like, it is something that happened that you are experiencing. It's not a reflection of like how your life's going to go or your trajectory, or, um, you know, it's not going to ruin your day or what you're doing, because you're able to just kind of step back from that. And this helps me, I mean, not just with goals, not just with emotions, but this helps me like see bad days as like just as they are. It's like unfortunate events happening at a certain time that I am a part of in this timeline, but it's not something deeper than that. It's not, think of when you've had a bad day and it hits you completely in your core, and it feels like something's happening to you, or yeah, it affects so many things. And especially I think of just like a frustrating morning, you spill your coffee and you get a flat tire and somebody honks at you on the road and you get late for work, whatever. All of these are frustrating things, but they aren't things that have to take your joy away, especially if you're just seeing them for what they are, like, darn, all right, let's figure this out. Let's move past it. And something I was thinking about the other day is like, going into 2023, if there's like a bad day or something like that, well, I mainly a bad day, I'm just gonna think of it as an episode and being like, okay, this was a rough episode. Oh, I'm excited to watch the next one. And that just kind of separates you from it. Um, it's kind of like the era thing that I think is a big thing on TikTok and on social media. Like, oh, okay, we are in a bit of a flop era today. This is a bit of a flop episode, but that doesn't mean tomorrow's episode is going to be a flop. This doesn't mean that, like, if you're watching TV, I know it's kind of odd to think about, but really seeing that, I mean, think about what it would be like to not have these events or obstacles define your mood, define how you're reacting, define the kind of day or life that you perceive yourself having. It's just, it just kind of is, but it's not changing your joy. It's not changing who you are. It's not changing how happy you are in the present moment. It's just like, okay, that's something that, and this is all easier said than done, but putting that into practice is surely going to make things a little bit better. But I was just kind of noticing this, like this pattern of as I'm thinking about the goals, it detaching from the results, and a couple weeks ago I was thinking about like the emotion thing, just detaching from the bad days, and just not having your whole soul into it. And so I think that there's something there. It's probably a deeper conversation, but it just puts you more in control, and it allows you to step back, both for emotions, goals, life experience, whatever, and make more informed decisions, problem solve better. And with that, then you're making progress in the long run, rather than being in this spinning wheel of self-evaluation and why am I not there yet, or why is this happening to me, or things like that. You're actually moving forward by focusing on the now. Does that make sense? When it feels a lot better to me. I remember I went to this conference. Does anybody remember the Rachel Hollis era? Oh, okay. Anyway, I was a Hollis girl. I really was. I went to two of her conferences. I went to her business conference in Charleston, and then I went to a what were they called? I don't remember what her regular like personal development conferences were called. But I went to one in Florida. I know. Um, which honestly, they were super fun. Like, they were super fun. That's neither here nor there. But with the personal development one, I was in a really rough place. And that's kind of when I was really frustrated with where I was in life. So making goals made me feel less than. It made me feel more self-conscious about where I was instead of making me motivated for where I could be kind of thing. And I think, that sure, I think has dented some of my perspective on that. That's kind of where this mentality comes from. But we were supposed to make goals. Oh my God. And she asked us to start with like where you want to be in 10 years. And I think I had to walk out for a second because I was getting so upset because everybody, you could see it in the room. Like people were so excited. They were writing down like what they want to do, who they want to be, whatever. And I just looked at the blank paper and I mean, tears started streaming down my face because I was like, it just reminded me of where I wasn't. And that sucks. That's a terrible feeling. And I never want to feel that again. And I feel like with the resolutions thing, it can make you feel that way. And I think that there's a balance between wanting progress and productivity and seeing that like there is a way to move forward without judging or resenting the life that you have now. I think that all comes with a balance of both detaching from results, focusing on the now, and realizing that a bad day isn't a bad life kind of thing. I hope that this was helpful. I hope you enjoyed. For all my other anti-resolution people, for all my goals girlies, love what you're doing. Keep it up. If that is lighting your fire, oh my gosh, go for it. Run with it. Pinterest all the way. For those of you who are like me and they make you extremely nervous and want to run to the bathroom and cry, this is for us. This is our version of the goals girlies. So we can all be in that boat, just rowing away. I hope that you have the best 2023. Of course, I hope you have the best life, but looking forward in this year, I think it's going to be a good one. I think it's going to be a good one for all of us. I'm very excited about it. And I haven't been excited for a year like this in a long time. And so I'm so eternally thankful for you. I'm so eternally thankful for your support and who you are and the way that you hold up this podcast and me supporting me. It is selfless, it is kind, and I have no words for what that means to me, truly. And for me, I just want to make sure that I'm serving you the best that I can. So if you have any feedback, or you want to see something more, if you want to see, dare I say, merch, if you want, what episodes do you want, if there's guests that you want, please send a DM to either me or Attainable Podcast. Love to hear from you guys. And if you enjoyed this episode, do me a favor, put it on your Instagram stories, tag us so that we can give you a shout out, share it with a friend. That's the best way that we grow. And also, whether you're on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, leave us a review. Write us a review on Apple Podcasts, give us 5 stars. And then on Spotify, they don't have the writing thing available, but you can give us 5 stars, which is always appreciated. You are amazing. You are awesome. You are kind. You are fun. You are joyful. And I think you are just the freaking best. So I will see you guys next time. Bye.